Thank you very much, Chairman. Director, welcome. I, in fact, find your leadership refreshing. I find your leadership balanced. I find your leadership addressing the over-regulation, overpowering by government. You've brought up several examples of things that happen when oversight, when you come into banks or you come into areas about their oversight. I want to talk with you about some of the civil money penalties that have really taken place. It happened more before you got there. Talk to me about these civil penalties and the use of those civil penalties. I've been looking on the website about how the CFPB does have discretion in these areas. And what is this? Is it a weapon? Is it there to stop bad behavior? Is it there to create something new? And correspondingly, once those penalties were made, civil penalties, was action taken that changed results or procedures?
One of the tools, Congressman, that CFPB has is administrative consent orders, which is essentially a way that CFPB can sue and settle over and over with entities and can bring in additional contributions into the civil penalty fund, which has a use. We had at least one or two examples where a company that had done wrongdoing that we thought was valid did not have any money left, and we put money out from the civil penalty fund so that we could provide redress to consumers. But the extent to which the combination of the fund and the sue and settle authorities that CFPB has is one of those things that I would take a look at if I was in Congress.
So in other words, you believe that there may be a better balance if we look at that and see where we actually direct the CFPB on that?
I do.
Okay. Well, I think it's important for us to, and you, to look at overregulation. Our friends on the other side didn't want to talk about 1071. 1071 is something that we became aware of early on. The banking industry became aware of it. It took what was originally about 14 or 15 pages of regulation and moved it to 1,000 pages. It required banks or any lenders where they were dealing with minorities to reassess and to ask all sorts of questions. I found that what it did is it, by and large, meant that banks did not want to offer loans anymore because of the extensive and rigorous process that it required, rather than some review stating the facts about where they believed there may be frailties in the marketplace. I note that you have now changed those rules and regulations. Have you had a chance to do any evaluation where you did a look back compared to what might be the current results that are happening that making it better for banks, financial institutions to lend to minority or other types of businesses or people?
Thank you, Congressman. When the rule went through OIRA review, which is obviously a new feature under this administration, it had a cost-benefit analysis. The benefits, $2 billion in lower regulatory costs, were obviously substantial. It's too soon to be able to see the on-the-ground impact, but I heard the same thing that you did with regard to the potential that we'd have fewer lending as a result of it. And just to put a fine point on the statutory basis for it, the statute required 13 data fields. The Chopra directorship put forward a rule that had in the neighborhood of 80-plus data fields. We came up with a rule that did 16, and we believe, for good reasons, because those extra 3 were tied into the underlying 13.
Right, and as a matter of fact, it would have put the person who was asking the loan, put them in jeopardy also. Yeah. Of how they complied.
Another fact is 29 million hours of paperwork as a result of the last 15 years of CFPB. That the 1071 rule that Chopra had done, it would have added much more paperwork, many more employees that these entities would have to do that paperwork.
Well, it came directly from the Texas Bankers Association, who talked with all the members up here, and they felt like it was not wise. You have made it more reasonable. Mr. Chairman, I yield back my time.